out of state, why aren't you serving him in the county which you grew up in the university where he allowed you to go? Like, you have to be faithful in the location, the locale where he has you, in order for him to broaden you out to state, regional, national, continental, and then in like overseas. Because we're all thinking, I went to the Bahamas overseas. Yes, there is a sea there, but like, really, like, where is he calling you first? Where are you supposed to be faithful first? And then you're disciplined in that. And if you are faithful and manager of few, he will make you faithful and manager of many. So it's a process, but I think that, again, the inception was God putting it in her spirit and then putting it in my spirit, us saying, okay, God, I'll follow you. And he's like, okay, if you're following me, I think I can trust you with this mission. Here's my mission for you guys. Now you run with it and, make it the most of what it can be.
Hey, entre leaders, happy Wednesday, and welcome to the 39th episode of the Leaders Lab podcast. If you are following along with my travel brand, you'll know that I went to Africa last year, and I had this opportunity through some amazing people that I met right here in China. And I'm going to tell you about them a little bit and let them introduce themselves and their purpose. But they are a dynamic couple. They are a dynamic couple with an even more dynamic purpose together. And so we're going to be sharing that purpose. I'm talking about the Kingdom Mission, better known as TKM. And they have helped thousands regain hope in the future that God's love provides. With the union of Troy and Karen McAdams in Shanghai on 10-10-10. Can you imagine that? Getting married on 10-10-10. That is so fantastic. TKM was established with the call of loving everyone, anywhere. This God-given purpose is touching lives all over the world. They are devoted with the mandate to empower, educate, and encourage people. But you know what? Instead of reading their bio, I want to bring them on and introduce them so they can share with you their story, their purpose, and their kingdom mission. So without further ado, entre leaders, please help me welcome the McAdams with the Kingdom Mission. Hello.
Hello.
And they are joining me all the way from my home state, North Carolina. They are back in the States at this time. And it's such a pleasure to finally have you guys on the Leaders Lab podcast with me.
Yay. We've made it. We've got to a certain level of the kingdom to make it on this Leaders Lab podcast, and we are excited to fellowship and share and encourage your listeners and your leaders.
I appreciate that so much. Y'all, let me tell you something. Elder Troy is crazy. Talking about we've made it.
I concur.
Oh my goodness, y'all. I miss them so much. We spent weeks together in 3 different African countries, correct?
Yes.
We were in Ghana, Ethiopia, and Zimbabwe together. But before we talk about our time in Africa, how did you two meet? Tell us the story about how you two met.
We were blessed, as you said, to have a union on 10-10-10 in Shanghai, China. And we knew that we were marrying not just for love, but on purpose. And actually today in service, we had a wonderful speaker, Pastor Rollins, out of Chicago, who talked about Ephesians 5 marriage. And he had 3 points. What is it meant to be married? What is your how to be married? Your motive, basically. And then he ended with, what is your mission to be married? And every marriage should have a mission. If you are married under God, God puts you together for his work and to reflect him throughout the earth. And so after prayer and supplication, it was so wonderful that we knew that we were both called to the mission field. We were both called to do the work. And in separate prayer times, God revealed to us TKM And for me, it was the Kingdom Mission. And then Troy came up with the Chinese name for it, and we were able to, do TKM. And what was great about it was that it was also our name. So in some regions of the world where we go, if we can't say the Kingdom Mission, Jesus lives, we can say, oh, we Troy and Karen McAdams. We're good.
Y'all so smart. Y'all are smart. I get it.
And
wow.
one more cool thing on the nomenclature, if you go to Latin America or Spain even, TKM in Textese means te quiero mucho. So it means I love you or I care for you. So there's definitely levels of God orchestrating and threading this whole thing together. And as Karen said, like, married on purpose. At first I was like, okay, we're the Kingdom Ministries, because I'm thinking like ministries, we have lots of different options. But Karen said, no, let's do a mission, because God has called us to a specific purpose, and not just to, have a book ministry and a travel ministry, but really to be focused intentionally about loving one another and building each other up for the purpose. My grandfather, before we were married, and even his question still resounds, are you better doing what God has called you to do single or together? And if your calling is together, then you need to do that, because it's not just you as a union, it's you as a team working for the King of Kings. And so, who you want to work for? You want to work for each other? No, that get old real quick. But when you're working for the King of Kings and he's the captain of your team, there's no limit to where you can dream. So there you go.
And I will say personally,
y'all giving me marriage ministry right now. I'm going to let you continue to roll. I'm just going to, matter of fact, all my singles, my professional singles out here, newly married, can we just listen to this seasoned couple for a few months? I ain't going to say not a ting. I'm going to sit over here and take notes, because God is moving. You hear me? Please minister to us.
Well, I would just say that, Troy brought up the question that his grandfather asked us. And I will tell you, as a single, I left America going to China, thinking I was going to go to China. And because of our union, we've been able to touch over 25 different nations and beyond, and looking at more nations, some that I didn't even know existed. We went to Batham Island, and I was like, what is a Batham and who is an island? Like, where are we going? But I followed him on the boat. We got there to this small place in Indonesia. So again, it's been beyond my wildest dreams. The Bible says I will do exceedingly and abundantly more. And this has definitely been more because of our union, because of our marriage under God. So to all those singles who think, you know what God is going to do, or you know how God is going to work. God has a plan. Jeremiah 29:11 is our mantra for our life, for our marriage, for our family, because we know he has a plan for us, and it is good and it is not evil, to give us a hope and a future. And so being able to live out Ephesians 5 in a strong way, and learning along the way. We're not perfect by any means. You should have videotaped earlier. but we are learning how to do this with God. It's that three-stranded cord.
Amen.
I love it. He just comes up and says, amen. So be it. That is it. Wow. So you said you went to China, you left America, you went to China. Did you all know each other before you arrived in China? Like, what was, yeah. We're definitely going to talk. I feel like the story of how you got together or how you came to be is a part of the story of the Kingdom Mission. So, yeah. Did you all know each other and say, we're going to China together?
So this is the inception of TKM, right? So we had in our mind, when we got to know each other in China in 2010, get married, that was our birth per se. But long before, God had been planning and speaking into an existence a union which would in the future become. And so independently, God had called Karen to China. She had been there in about 2000, and then we went there as a part of the same graduate cohort in 2009, but I was called to China separately. I heard God call me China, and I found out how to get there. I looked at a program. It was called English ELIC, and basically the program is you raise support for $20,000, and you go to China and you work for free. and then you just serve the people in China. And Karen had looked at the same program in 2009 and decided, I mean, it's good, it's Christian, but it's not exactly kind of what exactly we want to get out of it. And so we both ended up going to our second option, which was Concordia University's International Studies program. And so we had met in the summer of 2009 as part of the cohort, trained in the States for 6 to 8 weeks. And then we went to China to work as interns, to do our coursework. And then really that's where we got plugged into the international fellowship, and God just took things off from there. So God had it in mind to put China in her in 2000 and China in me in 2009. And for us both to hear independently and follow God in that. And as we followed God in his will, then the birth came, and that's where TKM was coming forth in 2010. And again, did we plan this? No. What did we plan? We planned to be faithful. We planned to minister where we're at, to honor our parents, to seek what was right in our hometown, because he says what? That I will take you through Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth, Jerusalem. And so like it's a progress, right? If you're not doing the work at home, why do you think God's going to send you overseas? I mean, like,
wait a minute now.
If you
hold on now,
go to, out of state, why aren't you serving him in the county which you grew up in the university where he allowed you to go? Like, you have to be faithful in the location, the locale where he has you, in order for him to broaden you out to state, regional, national, continental, and then in like overseas. Because we're all thinking, I went to the Bahamas overseas. Yes, there is a sea there, but like really, like where is he calling you first? Where are you supposed to be faithful first? And then you're disciplined in that. And if you are faithful and manager of few, he will make you faithful and manager of many. So it's a process, but I think that, again, the inception was God putting it in her spirit and then putting it in my spirit, us saying, okay, God, I'll follow you. And he's like, okay, if you're following me, I think I can trust you with this mission. Here's my mission for you guys. Now you run with it and, make it the most of what it can be. And I think also getting those fresh downloads and like, okay, God, where are we now? Where are you calling us to be? And never forsaking the inception of our mission, but definitely refining it and finding out where God is kind of moving us at the current time. So I think, we started kind of independently, but as we independently followed what God was telling us to do and faithful at the churches where he had placed us, he saw that and he honored that, and then he blew it up international. But there was 10 years, 20 years before that where he was working.
So did you know each other in 2000 and 2009 when God called you separately?
Yeah, just in 2009. So we did not know each other until we stepped on the campus together in the same program.
Wow.
And
then all of this happened.
Yeah, then we met on the campus. I actually got to know him one night. He was out on campus in the quad, and he was ministering to his roommate who was a Buddhist. And to be honest, I had never heard a white boy break down scriptures like that. And I was like,
the Holy Spirit don't have a race.
Just in case those of you who are listening to the audio version of the podcast, you're like, a white boy. Yes, honey. Elder Karen is African American. She is a Nubian queen, and Elder Troy is straight up from California. Okay, he is that surf. He looks like he's a surfer dude, right? Like he's just when he gets out there. I will never forget when I actually met them in person in Shanghai. I thought he was from London because he came in and I'm like, where's that accent from? She's like, girl, he is American. I'm like, where does the accent come from? And the more he talked, I was like, oh yeah, he from California. But at first I was like, she got her a British man. Listen, y'all, that thing is so funny. If you would have met him in India, you would have thought I got an Indian man. Wherever we are, his accents just... But I feel like, I will say, I noticed that with the Troy. Yes, wherever he is, his accent will change. But I thought at first that I was crazy because I'm like, but I do that sometimes, but only with Spanish and only in America, depending on what part of the country I go to. So if I go a little further south, then I'm going to put on a nice southern twang. If I go further up north, then I'm going to put up a little northern bop to it. That's it. But when I tell you all around the world, this guy right here, I'd be like, how you do that? Like, you used to practice accents when you was growing up, didn't you? I know you did. I used to. I used to in the mirror.
No,
I had like 5 accents. 5 accents, and each one of them had a name. Okay, so let's just.
I didn't develop my own language in like lexicon and stuff like that. I think English. I'm a really good writer, and I'm learning to communicate better, in person and on the spot. But I'm very, I don't know if it's influenced, but I'm very, like, the whole pickup accent thing is like, I'm open to speaking a different way. I'm not saying this is my English and this is how I will speak. I'm very open to other cultures, other styles. And like, so I feel, and I'm not intentionally doing it, but if I pick up some of their twang or their sound or their dialect or even their part of their language, like, I feel that's a way of connecting with them. I mean, sometimes Karen would feel like, oh, you're mocking them. I'm like, no, I'm just speaking their language. And she's like, why are you sounding like speaking Indian English? I'm like, because they're speaking Indian English and I'm just flowing. And she's like, it's quite embarrassing us. I'm like, I'm not embarrassing us.
We were at the airport one time in DC. We were flying back from whatever country, and Troy was talking to these people, and again, one of his accents came up, and so he left to go to the restroom, and they were like, "Oh, so he's from the Middle East?" I was like, "The Middle East of California." That's how he comes with his accent. They were like, "Oh, he's from the Middle East." So I was like,
She said Middle East in California. Listen, but okay, so let me say, Elder Troy, I think the reason you do that is because maybe it helps you to connect with them better.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
I just tried to help you clean it up. He's just like, yeah, let's say that instead of the fact that I just want to change my accent because it's Tuesday. Like,
yeah, and he does assimilate it. Now, he doesn't do it randomly. He does assimilate, but
it's where I'm at. Like, it's not like, let me get, like, I pick it up by what I hear. I'm not like looking at the person and being and trying to be like, hey, yo, what's good? Like, it's like whatever's coming out in the atmosphere, I'll kind of like halfway to that. And it's something, again, I don't do it intentionally, but it's kind of how I just mold to the situation I'm in. As 𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗗 said in Chinese philosopher, he said, be the water, like the vase, you fill the vase in the shape of the vase. So I feel like it's a way of me filling out the culture wherever I'm at. And being and going around the world has allowed me to kind of flex that out and flow out in those ways wherever we go. And I'll try and pull it in when it's, when my wife feels it's a little bit too much. But again, I'm just trying to communicate with the people, understand the culture, and be like, I got you. It's cool. We're good.
Okay, 𝗟.
Well, Bruce Lee said it too, right? Bruce Lee.
Also in the Bible somewhere, I think in the New Testament, it said to be all things to all people.
Go ahead, Paul.
There you go. There you go. So we can throw Paul in there with 𝗖𝗟𝗏. Okay. We can throw him in there. Okay, so you guys met in China. You started TKM in China. Well, you started it in your hearts, and then it manifested, of course, together in China. What has TKM accomplished as of today?
Well, we're so excited about what God has already done. We have been able to do so many projects around the world. Like I said before, we've gone to 25 plus countries from on every continent, save Antarctica, because we believe the penguins are safe. But we've been able to touch every continent. And again, for a little Black girl from Goldsboro, North Carolina, that is amazing to me to know that what God can do when you put your life in his hands. We've been able to, our first big project, we did 100 students. We paid for tuition for 100 students. We actually did with 𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗗 and Ghana. and we raised the funds from Shanghai, from our schools in Shanghai. And it was so awesome because they were willing to give to people they had never known before. But because of our love and trust in us, they raised over 60,000 renminbi to be able to pay for 100 students to go to school, their uniform, their books. And when we went there, the love and the exuberation and excitement on the kids' face were amazing. And then we got to go to the Volta region. You want to talk about when we were there?
So that was in Ghana the first time, and then the time with the Baza was next in the neighboring Togo. And so the first time, which kind of spurred our interest in really the need for education, and eventually the project we're working on now, and that was, we were holding a 3-day VBS style. We got VBS on steroids because it's heavily academic from all the English training we've got in China. And then also we've added like the elements of faith, hope, and love with different scriptures. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, for God so loved the world, and he created you with purpose. From, you look down from the universe, saw the Milky Way, saw the earth, saw your continent, saw your country, saw your region, your state, and go all the way down, and he saw you, and he died for the world, but he also died for you. And so we use these scriptures to speak life and really empower them to know who they are in a spiritual, but also like a purposeful sense. Like, so we integrate the core values of God's children. You are a child of God, and we integrate with that academic subjects, sciences, geography, things like that. And so we were doing that campaign in Ghana, and they'd advertise on the back of cars, like there was like these loudspeakers that go around on the radio. The churches were putting the word out too. And so we were thinking, well, maybe we'll get 50 or so. And we had prepared for about 100. And so the first day, or the day prior when we were setting up, there was like 300 or 250 kids that showed up, and they're like, oh, and we're like, well, we don't have materials. We only bought like 35 pairs of scissors or whatever. And so we think we could go like for 70 kids. So they said, okay, we'll do 70 or 80 kids. And so what they did was they took pieces of paper, colored paper, they cut it into strips and labeled each one each day. And they'd hand it out to kids and say, you come back tomorrow and on the second day, and you come back on the third day. And so the first day we had like 80, 90 kids. And we're like, I thought we gave out 70, 80 tickets, and there was more kids because we only had a certain number of chairs as well. And so we said, okay, anyways, well, we're not worried. We're concerned about giving our lesson and doing what we're supposed to be doing. You guys can organize the kids and find out how they can, sit and participate. So we started teaching that day. That was our faith day. And we talked, if you have faith as small as a grain of mustard, you can say to this mountain, move, and it will surely move. And talking about how God can help move mountains in your life. And so anyways, we were giving the lesson. Fine, a lot of kids. We've dealt with it. We're going to make it work. And then we see in the corner of the fence, there's a wicker fence, and the kids were pulling away the wicker fence so they could peek inside to see what was going on inside our camp. And so you think about the Bible verse about the friends bringing the paralytic and pulling back the roof, the thatch roof to drop him before Jesus. And it's like these kids were so hungry and thirsty for education and for a chance to understand, like, what's bigger than what I see in front of me? What's bigger than my city, my region? Like, what's going on? There's something here that's valuable. And so we're just really impressed on that part. And the second day, 120 kids came back with day 2 stickers or pieces of paper. And like, what had been happening was they were taking it to their friends, ripping it in half and multiplying the tickets so that they could come into camp too. And there's just, from this, it kind of made us recognize that the world needs godly, equitable, and empowering education. Like, quality education needs to be available wherever you are, and not necessarily all with iPads, not necessarily with international teachers all the time, but they need to know that where they are, there is purpose, and their purpose, once they find that out, they can impact and uplift their community. So we go, the rising tide lifts all boats. So if we rise the tide of education of godly purpose, like, you have purpose, your community has purpose, your region has a purpose, then all of a sudden the regions of the world are becoming the kingdoms of our God. And here comes the scripture in our fulfillment. So
you said that you were in, that was Volta region the first time you were in Togo, but Elder Karen said that you guys have already been to 25 different countries together. So now I want to ask you both about the 10-10-10 project, because when I met you, you had just started the 10-10-10 project. And so I want to ask you about that. And and what it is, and also where are you based out of the 25 countries that you've traveled to? Like, do you have schools planted there, or, is that what you're doing? So can you tell us a little bit about 10-10-10?
So the 10-10-10 project flowed out of our time in Volta region because we saw the hunger and thirst that children had for education. And we had seen it all around the world, whether it was in India or Venezuela. And so in 2017, we launched the 10-10-10 project under the theme that education should not be just for those who can afford it, but afford it to all. And it's a program where we launch 10 schools in 10 desolate places over the next 10 years.
Wow.
And so we started, our first school actually is in Ghana, in Althenia. We were, land was given to us by a widow named Reverend Bright. And she heard our story, and the vision leaped within her. And she said, I don't have much, but what I have, I give unto you. And just like the widow, she gave all that she had, which was this plot of land. She talked to her children and sat them down and asked them, would they be willing to give basically what would be their inheritance up for the kingdom mission? And they said yes.
Wow.
And so we broke ground in that school, in 2019. And we've been building it since then. And preferably it'll be able to open this year for the first 20 kids of Purpose School. They're called TKM Purpose Schools. And so we have one in Ghana. The plans are also, the framework is starting for one in Albania as well. And then we're looking for one here actually in the US as Anchor School. And Zimbabwe, that's why we went with Dr. Charity. She was with us in Zimbabwe. So she knows that Zimbabwe is also a rich place that we're looking to as a site for TKM Purpose School. They have many children that are yearning to learn. And so our project allows for one person to be sponsored. And most of the sponsors are only $100 a month. Can you imagine only having to pay $100 a month to change the life of a child? And so for that $100 a month, they get their school uniforms, their supplies. The teachers are being able to be paid. And then we also, at the end of the month, we also send home a care package to the family, because we know that education is not just what goes on in the classroom, but outside of the classroom. Mm-hmm. So building those bridges with the children as well.
Absolutely. Wow. So you said, Ghana, and I actually got a chance to see the building structure and the site, and that was really, really exciting. And just like to see that, I can't wait to see the finished product. It'll be like that was wow. And then the whole, like the prayer that took place on the ground, like the whole thing was just powerful. The whole thing was powerful. So you said Ghana, and Albania.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, who just pops up to me like, hey, let's build a school in Albania?
I was just telling a story today. Like, a lot of the connections came through the International Fellowship, AGIF, Abundant Grace in Shanghai. And so people who had family or were from other countries, is an international hub. So they'd be like, oh, can you come to Venezuela? My sister's there, and they're involved in a local fellowship, and they do ministry. Or, West Africa. Those are all church and fellowship connections. And then this one was actually a girlfriend of Karen from a graduate school up in Maryland. And she went to a graduate program, she was like an administrator of the graduate program. And one of the guys in the program was a provincial council member in a district in southern Albania. And so this kind of connections have kind of defined the places where we choose to go, because we believe if God's called us somewhere, he's going to put the right people in place. So we're not just going to go somewhere and say, well, I think he might be calling us here, but we actually have those connections so that on the ground we have people to meet us. So we flew into Thessaloniki, Greece, and we were told to meet this man named 𝗤𝗤𝗏. And so we land in Thessaloniki, Greece, which is about a 4 or 5 hour drive through the southern part of Albania. And so we're at the airport, and he's like, hi. And we're like, hey. And he's like, hey, I'm 𝗤𝗏𝗏. And we're like, okay, like, nice to meet you. And then we're kind of like, can you show us like your identification so we can kind of, match the name with the ID? And he's like, okay, no problem. So he showed us, and then, his Albanian identification card and driver's license. And we're like, okay, are you ready to drive? And he's like, yeah, let's go. My buddy's in the car, and we just throw the bags in. And we'll go ahead and drive across the border. We can stop maybe and get some gyros here in Greece and go swim in the Adriatic Sea. And we're like, okay, sounds good. Let's do it. And so really these connections kind of come from everywhere. And so this one, maybe you can talk more about what he's doing in Albania.
Well, and
before she says it, before you do that though, can we just sneak in the fact that y'all heard 𝗟𝗚𝗔𝗗 just pop in a little Albanian accent real quick? Like, I mean, we're not just going to let that slide. We're not just going to let that slide. And to make sure that we know it's not gyro, it's hero or whatever it is. Because, we get gyros when we go order something. But he wanted to make sure. I had to mess with you. Okay, go ahead, Elder Karen. So you can tell. I just want to he said heroes. It's not gyros, people. Not gyros. It's heroes. Okay, heroes.
Well, yes. Point proven. Okay, so what was so powerful when we got off the plane, we actually drove to the footsteps of Paul. And so we were able to walk where Paul walked and was able to go see where he met with the council to declare the word of the Lord. And so it was just such a powerful moment. I mean, literally off the plane, seeing what God had done and what God had built in that place. And we were able to be a part of that. Pastor Plator, he is an amazing man of God. He serves as a council because, again, we're in the earth. So he's part of the city council, and he works with hundreds of young people in gypsies. Gypsies are like the street children in Albania. And the history is so rich of communism and the fall and all of those things. And so we walked and was able to see that firsthand and to see his work. And so we did a camp with him, with his young people who were amazing.
Shout out to Albanian youth.
Yes, they were like, they took our program and they just like ran it. We were just like, what we supposed to do? And they were like, we good. Like we gave them the outline of the day and, how the camp was supposed to run. And they literally ran with it. They had skits and plays and just so many other activities, and they were just on it all the time. They were there, and the room was packed from top to bottom, just packed with children. I'm ready to learn and to grow. And then we spent, they have this youth camp where they take the street children off the street and they take them to the woods and they do life skills with them and they present them with the word of the Lord. So we were able to do that with them, and they feed them, and we were able to do feedings for them. And it was just the love from the community. Parents were coming back saying, thank you so much. You guys have been such a blessing since we were there. And everywhere we went in the city, we became known because of Plator and the grace of God that has been given to him in the city. So he found a building. He has a building there, and his dream is to open a school for the gypsy kids and for the street children. And so we are partnering with him to be able to have that happen. We actually were supposed to travel there in the summer of 2020, but of course everything changed. But delay does not mean denial. So we are looking forward to being with them soon.
Shout out to
and you actually.
The city
you said shout out to
Lebonika Malic.
Okay. Shout out to you guys. But no, you actually just brought up a point, because I wanted to ask. I know when we were together in Africa, it was honestly, y'all, it was something like a movie, because COVID was breaking out all over China. And we were in Ghana at first. We were in
Yeah.
Ghana at first, they were getting messages on their phone. We were reading articles and things on WeChat. And I'm just like, oh, wow, this is pretty major. But, hopefully we'll be able to get back because they were leaving from Zimbabwe to go back to Shanghai.
Yep.
And I was leaving from Zimbabwe to go to Kenya to visit one of my brothers there. And so I was just like, well, after Kenya, I'm coming back to China. So, that's the plan. And we were in Zimbabwe. And I remember you all received your message, an email that your flight was canceled and you were trying to figure out what to do. And then I just had faith that was not about to happen to moi. You hear me? I'm going back to China. Dalian is a smaller city than Shanghai. Surely this is not going to be a problem. Y'all, it was a Saturday morning. I was sitting on the couch. We were getting ready to go to the Giraffe Mansion in Nairobi. And I received that dreaded email saying, we're so sorry, but your flight to Dalian has been canceled. I was like, the devil is a liar. I am not going back to the States. I'm not going anywhere but to America. Long story short, y'all, we got stuck in America for quite some time. And I remember thinking, okay, because I wanted to, after I partnered with TKM, and that was my first missions trip. So let me just throw that out here, okay? I had no idea what I was getting myself into, okay? Now I had to talk to my sister. Elder Karen, be like, bruh, so we finna be where? And how hot is it gonna be? Because y'all, I don't play with the heat. Why was I going to Africa? Huh? I don't play with heat. Okay. And so she was just telling me, and just seeing them and operate together and knowing that you really do have a heart. You have to have a heart for missions. Like you can't just, be like, oh, we're going here because we're going to be staying in these nice hotels. This is luxury life. No, baby, you on the ground working.
Facts.
And it was being with them that I actually that God began to change my heart about what doing missions look like. And so from there, and then seeing the impact, y'all, let me tell you something. In the beginning, I was like, this is the first and last time that I tell anybody I'm doing missions because your girl is not cut out for this right here. But by the end of each time, and I went and I was helping them. I just wanted to capture their story, what they were doing. So I was working behind the lens and going back and editing every single time made me say, okay. And little by little, God started just changing my heart and saying, you have to partner with them, right? Like whenever they go somewhere, you have to go and capture the story. And at the time, y'all, I went up in there with my iPad and my iPhone. That's what we recorded videos with. And that was it. But being displaced in America and God working on my heart, I invested in all the gear and the equipment that I would need to be able to not just capture my story as I'm traveling and doing my thing as a travel blogger, but to partner with TKM and catch their story. So I look forward to going to Albania, after COVID Junior chills out. So how has COVID and COVID Junior affected TKM and the 10-10-10 plan at the moment?
And can I just jump in real quick? Because I want
Of
your
course.
audience to know how that testimony is such a God thing, because when you go out for God, God goes out for you. And so while you are working on God's work, he's working on your work. And we had just contracted for us to have a website, and we did not have high quality information to put on. And I did not know. When I met Dr. Charity, I didn't know how amazing she was, right? She's like one of those stelts, right? You really don't know how amazing she is. And then when she came and she's like, oh yeah, I can do that. I'll just record for you. And I'm thinking like, oh, it's going to be like the video recorders I did. This chick opened this bag. She pulling out lights. She pulling out videos. I'm just like, what is she doing? She's like, okay, now I'm going to put the mic right here. So if you could just, I'm like, who did we just bring with us? And I did not know that we had a trained videographer and storyteller. Not only could she, marketing director, not only could she capture the story, but then she could turn around and retell the story. And from her work, we were able to raise all the money we needed for every single student, because every time someone asks us stuff, we send her videos.
Wow.
Doctora Explorer, Dr. Charity C. Campbell.
Yes. So
wow.
thank you
Oh
so
my
much
God.
for your work, because your work has been so instrumental in us being able to raise the $20,000 we needed for our students, because every document, whether it was constant contact, an email, a newsletter, whatever, your information was the centerpiece, and it touched people's heart. They were like, oh my goodness, I watched that video. What can I do? How can I be? So, and I love her humility. She's like, oh, I was rushing, so I just got this done. So hopefully it's okay. I'm like, this is like $1 million.
Oh my God.
Worth of investment. So thank you so much. God bless you.
And I want to thread this in. That's amen. Yes. And there was a question that Dr. Charity had asked us prior to our meeting here. And the question was, for people who may not be able to give financially, what can they do? And so what we work with some of our friends in China, kind of strategizing and looking at, Lord, like TKM and what the potential is. And we always have this pray, give, go mindset. Like you can pray, you can give, or you can go with. And Dr. Charity, she gave her time and her skills, and she went. And so we're also think like pray or give. And so one of our friends helped us come up with the third option.
Yeah, do the third thing.
Well, I don't know if I can give. I don't know if I can do. The third thing is that thing that you can do, that you can add value, that you have special value with, that you can contribute, whether it's graphic design, whether it's bringing your phone and taking pictures, whether it's praying, once a week at a certain time for an hour. Like, what can you do? So when Moses was commissioned to go and free God's people, and he said, well, how can I do it? God said, what is in your hand? And so the question today is, for what God is calling you to do, what is in your hand? Not what we don't have and what we can't do. Because there are things and there are limitations practically, logistically, and even in our mind. But what has he given to you? Give that to the Lord and see if he won't multiply it and use it for his kingdom purpose.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, now that you've mentioned it and talked about it, going back, and I say this to people all the time, going back to the States was, it was not part of the plan. Just thinking back to something that you said, you were talking about how when you look after the things of God, like God will look after, your things. I'm paraphrasing, right? But I realized, and we had a conversation, because while we were both in the States, I made sure that I came and first I reached out to you all quite a few times, and then I came to your birthday drive-through, which was really cool. Elder Karen for election. That was that presidential election. I love it. But but one of the things that we talked about, and I remember the day when I called you, I was driving, going to I needed to get away for a weekend. And I was driving, and on my way there, the Lord told me to call you and tell you that I was going to be partnering with you all, and wherever you went, that I would go too. And I realized during that conversation that everything that I had, all the tech gear that I had invested in, all the tech gear that I bought, and I remember telling you this, I was like, oh, I'm getting this for me because I got my new vlogging camera. I got my lights, my audio stuff. Like, this is it. And God was like, oh, okay, but it's not just for you. It's for you to help TKM, and you go and you continue to share. I cannot. And I remember when you guys were like, wow, this is really good. I love the work that you did. And in my mind, I was like, but I feel like I can do so much more. I feel like I can do better, but I don't have the tools to do better. And I remember saying that but seeing the appreciation that you all had. And now to hear that you have raised the $20,000 that you needed for your nonprofit and to continue, I'm just like, and it really does make me sit back and say, God can do so much with what we consider to be imperfect. Like, he can take what we feel like is not good enough and supply futures for other people and just do
Oh,
something.
man.
So, I mean, that right there, like, I'm sitting over here, like, while you were talking, I was like, let me keep the camera on them real quick, just in case a little tear drop out, because I am so deeply moved by the fact that what I did then, that I was like, God, I don't like this. I'm just going to use what I have and do it to the best of my ability. But I feel like I can do so much more. And because I had a desire to do so much more for TKM, I really believe that that's when God blessed me with all the other things. Because I mean, just to like Elder Troy said, to donate your time and your talent, to
Yes.
donate your talent. You may feel like, well, I don't have the money to give and all that. Yeah, but honey, you're a great copywriter.
Yes.
Or, you know, you can do wonders with Photoshop, you know, or with any other app that's out there. Or you can do wonders with creating lessons, you know, on the all of these things. And or you are a prayer warrior and you're like, well, my feet can't go out the country, but they can get up every single morning at a specific time and pray or intercede on behalf of this organization. And so I think most of the time for us, when we start to think about how we can partner with an organization, we always think about resources and money, but time and talent, time in prayer and investing talents. And I'm telling you, as a living witness, God will give you back the investment that you put into someone else, but on a greater scale. Because now the things that I'm doing with what I have, and even now I'm still like, well, God, I could use that. And I'm like, but I'm grateful because what I had in Africa and was able to produce from what I had, just a phone and an iPad, and now I have all this different thing, all these other things, these things that I invested in that God paid for, you know, He provided for. It's just like it gives me all the warm and fuzzies all over again, all over again. So I look forward to traveling the world with you all again once COVID Jr. takes a seat. Okay, so. But in the meantime, you guys are still in the States and you're opening up a school in the States. So, I mean, what happened with that? Because you were in Shanghai, China, and now you're in the States. So, are you coming back?
Yeah, we're coming back.
Okay. Okay.
No worries.
Okay.
Yeah, but you see again, like we said about our marriage. We had one plan. We didn't know how broad the plan was. And so again, we thought that we were doing enough just by supplying school for 100 kids here, 100 kids there, 50 kids there. And God's like, no, but I want you now to build schools. I want you now to partner and to write educational curriculum that will change, that is character-based and purpose driven, so that children grow up and understand their from their purpose point, why God put them in this time and space. And so that has been our mission and our drive. And so again, as Troy said earlier, you start where you are. You start in Jerusalem, right? And so we can't go and do this all over the world and not seed right back to where we are from. And so that's what we're doing with the school in the US.
I love it. I love it. So yes, you are coming back. And and we're continuing on. What once COVID or once you're able to travel again, where do you think is the next place that you're going? Like, where will be the next place to go? Or obviously you'll probably go back and check up on the school in Ghana, you know, but to physically see it. But what are some of the plans that you have for that?
So Karen mentioned like Albania is the next plot on the map, and so definitely we're planning to be in Albania as soon as travel would allow. We're also planning to keep contact with Zimbabwe and some of the other places we've traveled already, just to see the need. And once we're back in China, we'll look to continue what God was starting there in the summertime. We were able to run a camp called Explorers Camp. Go ahead, Dr. Explorer. And we're
all right.
Again, the curriculum, which was a rich English ESL curriculum with an international element, and then kind of these core values of like how I should view myself and how I should view the world. And so we were able to kind of mesh our curriculum with the some of this national curriculum. And so we believe that where we are, again, we're going to build schools. And I think God's going to establish us in a place where we can most effectively do that. And whether it's here or there, we will be here and there as the Lord leads.
And then we also have gotten an offer to be in Romania. So, so again, God just keeps opening door after door. So that's a place we've never been, but we'll definitely be looking forward to walking through that door as well in Romania to partner with some educational colleagues that have reached out to us and said that we want to partner with you as you partner with what God is doing. So we're excited about that.
That's a good one. He's actually part of he was a PE coach, and his wife's an administrator with the International American School in Shanghai. And so his heart, he's like, I like what I'm doing. He used to be a professional footballer. Shout out to Andre. And now they're back in Romania. And he's like, I have this vision that I will open up a bunch of schools that will be God honoring and will up the level in that country, because there's such a need of the traditional and core, like education of values and respect and honor, that people are crying out for it, because a lot of Europe has turned secular and turned its face against God. And he's like, I envision there being all these schools. I don't have anyone to run them, but I have a vision for it. I have the energy for it. My wife's a data administrator. Like, let's do this. When can you guys come? And so, and a few other Romanian connections as well. So God's putting pieces, breadcrumbs as we continue to look where he leads. And I don't know, I'm excited, real excited.
I'm excited because we going to Romania. Honey, TKM is not allowed to go to any other country without me. If something is happening with TKM, I gotta go, because who else is going to tell your story? Who else is going to tell the story? Me and my backpack, honey. We are getting on planes and going. You hear me?
Yes.
As long as I can get back into China. I don't know. We still trying to. Because listen,
They'll work that out.
Listen, China is serious about. Oh, you leaving? You can't come back. Lord, work that out. So
very soon.
So yes, but wow. I'm just so full of you know, this is one of the things that I love about TKM is that when I talk to them, I get fed off of purpose. Like when I talk to them and I hear their story and I hear what God is doing with them and how he still has the pen on the paper writing out their destiny for what they're doing, I always get excited. And I'm just like, okay, wow. Because it's so serious. You think about how God brought these two people from two different backgrounds together for one kingdom mission that's impacting lives all around the world. I remember, and they have a beautiful daughter, a beautiful little girl. We call her Princess, right? She's so beautiful. And I remember when we were in Ghana, that she ended up getting sick, and we had no idea. We was like, Lord, don't let it be COVID, like, you know, any of that. And so Karen, being the mama that she is, and Troy being the father that he is, Karen was like, I'll stay with the baby and you go and continue the purpose. That's partnership. You know, like family doesn't stop the purpose. Like family doesn't stop what God is doing. So I was actually thrown into the mix there. I was, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna be behind the camera. And you all met Mama Nneka last week. Bless her heart. Mama Nneka is such a general. She is such a soldier, because she's like, well, you're going to step in. And Troy was like, yeah, you step in. And I'm like, I'm just behind the lenses. That's all we doing is behind the lens. But I was able to step in, and it was so different. One, it was, I was talking to future leaders, and that's what we do here on the Leaders Lab podcast. We talk to future, current, and past leaders, because sometimes leaders from the past, they need a reminder that they still have purpose and they still have influence, right? Mm-hmm. So, but being able to do that, and that just let me know even more, hey, when you are called to donate your talents, you got to be flexible, because anything can happen And you can't just say, well, I'm not doing that because I didn't sign up to do that. I only signed up to, work as a secretary administrator, or I only signed up to, be somebody's armor bearer. I'm just using those things. I only signed up to be behind the scenes. But if something happens during the mission, you got to learn how to be flexible. And I learned so many things. And I tell people all the time, I'm forever changed and impacted just from my time with TKM. And like they said, their church, AGIF, was part of the partnership that they did in Zimbabwe, meeting amazing people just because I said yes. And the way how it even happened for me to go to Africa with them was crazy. I mean,
oh yeah, that was crazy.
She asked me in October. We met in October. She asked me in October. I was like, yeah, sure. Let me see what we can get together. Mm-hmm. Y'all, by November, because at first I was like, let me pray about it. By November, I had already said, okay, I'm doing this. I started, my passport was full. Okay, my passport was full and we needed blank pages for visas. And I'm just like, I can't go back to the States. I don't know what to do. Long story short, y'all, I had a temporary passport given to me the same day. I had my tickets, because the thing is, I bought my ticket to Ghana before. She said, you crazy. She told me, she was like, you are crazy. I bought my ticket to travel with them before I had a passport, before any other thing had worked out. I was like, God, boom, I did it. And I know God was like, you trying to make me move on your behalf now. Like you gonna make me do this thing now because you done went and bought a ticket already. And he literally worked everything out, including immunizations and everything, and including us leaving before COVID happened like that. I mean, this is crazy here.
Yeah, it was so God. So God.
So I had to bring them on the Leaders Lab podcast because they are doing such a marvelous work, and it doesn't stop here in 2021. They're going to be doing so many more things. You heard about Albania, you heard about Romania, you heard about Zimbabwe. There are other countries too that will fall in line as they make these connections. And I don't know about you, but I'm excited to be a part. And so if you are interested in partnering with TKM, and I mean, it's not just the kingdom mission, but I feel like it's the total kingdom mission. Like it's the mandate, like going all out. And if you want to partner with them, whether it's through your time, your talents, or monetary donations, how can they get in contact with you? Like, how can someone say, yeah, I want to partner, like I have to do this? How can they become a partner?
Sure. They can go, if they would like to email us, they can email us at tkmconnected@gmail.com. Again, tkmconnected@gmail.com. She's put it on the screen for you. So that will come directly to us and we will respond. And then you can go to our website, which is actually under construction, but you can see some of the stories that have happened previously at www.tkmvision.com. And so we look for in the next month, you'll be able to connect directly with our children, see their stories. You'll be able to see, follow the map and be able to see where the schools are being planted, time, talent, and treasure. All of those, you will have opportunities to be able to sign up for all of that. You'll be able to get testimonials from leaders that we've worked with. Our 3-pillar system of empower, encourage, and educate. All 3 pillars will be highlighted on our website. You'll be able to meet our board of directors. So we're excited about that because we just really think it's going to be a great hub of community and connection for people all across the world. I mean, again, from Australia to Singapore to Thailand to China to, to Turkey to Albania, England to Mexico, all the way, all the countries we've touched. It is our goal to be able to have partners that you'll be able to reach out to and be able to get to know them and to see what they're doing in the world as well, because we are many members but one body. And so there's no big I's, no little U's. We're all in this together. And so wherever God is, we want to, again, it to be a platform where people can come, get connected, see where their time, talent, or treasure can be used for the upbuilding of the kingdom, because that's what this is all about. We're loving everyone anywhere, for Christ loved the world.
That's powerful. Wow. Yes. Yes, Elder Troy, you can go ahead. I love it.
No,
He's like, he's a school
I was just
teacher.
affirming the speaker. Go ahead. It's
I
Sunday,
love
y'all,
it.
in the U.S. It's Sunday, y'all. I still got my Sunday vibe on.
Yeah. I love it. Listen, oh my gosh. I hope everyone that you have, you've been impacted by today's episode of the Leaders Lab podcast. And again, I want to say thank you so much to Elder Troy and Elder Karen McAdams for, first of all, agreeing to even come to the Leaders Lab today and to be with us on today. Man, thank you so much to the two of you. Your story is so inspiring. And the work that you're doing is even more inspiring. So from my heart and from my listeners, I want to say thank you both so much for that today.
Thank you, Leaders Lab podcast. Y'all are amazing. This platform to get the mission and the motivation to do what God has called you to do in your area, your location, and really to follow after the Father's heart and reach out to his children. You're called to lead, to leap, to take leaps of faith, and to listen as he guides you into what he has given you. And we hope that part of that will be able to partner with us and support us as we continue the kingdom mission everywhere and anyone.
Now, are you, before I do end out, are you on social media anywhere? Like, are you on Facebook and things?
Yeah,
okay.
TK Vision. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TK Vision. We're there. And again, you can get updates if you want us to come to share at your church or in your organization. Empowering is a part of our ministry as well, making sure that people are empowered to do what they were created to do. It's in you. You have purpose. So just, we would love for you to follow us, hear our stories, keep updated on what's going on so you can be with us as we do the work.
Excellent. So if you, for those of you who are watching the video version of this podcast on YouTube, you can check the description box below and you will see a brief bio of TKM. And also you will find the link to their website, their email address, and also where you can find them on social media. And also, if you're listening to this, to the audio version of the podcast, you can just look in the show notes and their information will be there as well. Listen, I want to say thank you so much to all the listeners and of course our very special guest for today for tuning into the 39th episode of the Leaders Lab podcast. Thank you so much for rocking with me today, and I will see you guys next week in the lab.
Thank you for listening to the Leaders Lab podcast. Visit our website at www.DrCharityTV.com.